man who I set as an icon for young men of this particular age in the Me Too movement and the cancel culture, where vehemently, in a moment's notice, someone's deranged thoughts towards you can lead to hurt, harm, and danger. This young man has overcome all of that. He is a candidate out of San Francisco for the Central Committee, and I believe undoubtedly the best candidate. I want to introduce to some and present to others the great young man, none other than Joseph C. Roberts. Good evening, sir. It's a great joy and pleasure to have you on the air with us tonight.
Hey, Ken, glad to have you back, man. It's always a pleasure to see you. You're the first person I thought of after the USA Today op-ed got the green light. So thank you for having me.
Hey, listen, it's great to have you back. You, in your essay, you recite back to America the perils that you went through, and in addition to that, the remedies you sought to overcome all of that. There are a lot of men who tuned in tonight to watch this program. Uh, some have experienced what you have and fought. Others didn't fight at all because they knew what the outcome would be for them. Would you tell America, first and foremost, for those who didn't catch up and haven't read the USA Today article, exactly what you went through at that historically black college and university?
Oh man, it was it's like the older I get and the longer I live, that experience is summing up to what I would like to call the worst experience of my life.
Yeah.
That is what I experienced. False accusation, right? 3 weeks before graduation, um, I was summarily suspended, expelled for no reason other than the student ethics coordinator or office was in receipt of a incident report that said I did these terrible things.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I'm hereby have to vacate the premises, and if I'm step foot on it again, subject to expulsion and or arrest. There was no details of the incident, who said it, when they said it, and I didn't even get a copy of the report. All this was pending the outcome of the investigation and the hearing that never happened. That's
Wow.
usually the part right there, the investigation that never happened. That's usually the part right there where it just starts to become beyond belief. They couldn't have never given you an investigation, or they couldn't have not given you a hearing. But the way things at the old Title IX worked,
Mm-hmm.
that's exactly how it worked. I
Now,
mean,
before you go on, because there are a lot of people who are watching this tonight, and we all know how the legal system works. Uh, apparently the incident report was taken by county or local police, uh, and your grace should be against the police, right?
wrong. The incident report was taken by campus public safety, so it would be the campus police department.
Wow. And so,
But and that was one of the big points of contention, or one of the big stress points, is that hey, um, if you're accused of sexual assault or harassment, that should be something that an actual police agency should
yeah.
handle, not the arbiters, or the administrators of the university should not be the arbiter of justice when it comes to an accusation that heavy. So the undertow or the undercurrent was, hey, we can handle this situation in house. This accusation, we got this. There's no need to make an official police report. Um, how does that play out in my instance? Well, it allows certain people that are in charge to politicize accusations. Something like as strong as sexual assault, not investigated, which makes it unserious to both me being accused and then also a victim.
Mhm.
Without the investigation, it's unserious.
Now, they arbitrarily told you to vacate the premises. Um, Now, how was that done? Were you escorted off campus?
No, no,
Were you given a right of
it,
refrain?
it was done in the middle of the night via email. Uh, the university sent out a campus-wide alert via email with a picture of me. So there's a picture of my ID, and it was blown up in like a 8.5 by 11 on an email. So it was like a wanted poster. And if you see big photo of me on campus, immediately report to public safety. Um, I got a subsequent email that said, "Hey, since we're in receipt of this, since we're in receipt of your these things that you've been accused of, if you step foot on campus, you could be subject to expulsion and or arrest." So it was almost a campus-wide alert in the middle of the night, as if a school shooter was running around.
Yeah.
Why would they send something like that in the middle of the night?
Uh,
My opinion was it was tripwire. What if I didn't
mhm.
check my email at night? What if I just woke up the next day and go to class as if it was just a normal state of affairs and then greeted by uniformed police officers saying you're under arrest because you violated the order?
Now,
That was
people people need to know your background first and foremost, because the accusation is completely out of character for who you are. What were you doing before you went to college?
before I went to college. Let's see, I enlisted in the Navy.
Yes.
Um, I was a railroad after I got out the Navy. I was a railroad conductor for 5 years for Norfolk Southern Railroad. Um, the recession happened in 2008, and I got laid off, and that was the first chance I ever had to go to college.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I go to college. I decided to go to a black college, Savannah State. I did the deal. Um, Elected student leader, pledge of fraternity, and this was the summation of that hard work that happens at the end of 3.5 years, almost 4 years. You build
Exactly.
up your reputation, and you work hard, and you know,
Without a doubt,
when you
your reputation was impeccable, simply impeccable. And during
yeah,
your studies, uh, you were considered a scholar on campus. Am I correct?
yeah, scholar, student leader, the
Yeah.
deal. Everything that you were trained, we train our children to do. Yeah, my parents, they groom me to
Yeah.
to do the right thing.
Exactly. Now, 3 weeks before you graduate, you are summarily tossed off the campus. You are offered an opportunity to appeal. Am I correct?
Yeah, I was offered the opportunity to appeal, but how can you appeal the findings of a hearing and an investigation that never happened?
Mm-hmm.
But you're given the opportunity to appeal, so the only thing that I can appeal was the process. Hey, I respectfully appeal because I was never giving an investigation or a hearing. I can't appeal the findings because there was none. And that's where the story gets confusing.
Yeah.
You would think that immediately on the next level of the appeal, or whoever you appeal to first, they would say, "Hey, is this really true? Did this guy not give a hearing or an investigation? Let's red light this right now and give him a process."
Exactly.
The uh, the vice president or the provost decided that no, the ethics coordinator decision was correct, and you just started climbing up the ladder to the university president. This is a adjudicative process. It's not like a matter of day after day. This is You have 14 days before the deadline if you choose to appeal. On that 14th day, I submit. And you have to wait a week for the decision. And that process, I would probably say it led into, if I was accused in April,
Mm-hmm.
um, I don't think I exhaust the appellate procedures until like July, almost the beginning of the next school year.
Yeah. Now, a lot of people would take umbrage, and they would just say, you know what, it's not worth fighting. And I'm just going to leave it alone. I'll just leave campus and I'll go to another school. What was your reaction, um, mentally, physically, during that time period? And why did you choose to fight this process?
You know, it you asked me this question last time, right?
Yep.
And that answer hasn't changed. Just think about the resilience. I think it's just about the perseverance that I displayed at that time. You
Mm-hmm.
know, over 7 years ago. I mean, I'm obviously more mature than I am now than I was then,
Yeah.
and the answer is still the same. I was just guided. I was guided by a higher power.
Yeah.
Why didn't I run? Right?
Yeah.
Reputation. You got to protect it. You got to
Hmm.
protect your reputation at all costs. You must. It's critical. Without your reputation, you're nothing. You know, your reputation is your business card. It's what you lead with in every interaction. I
Hmm.
have to stay not only because I want to protect my reputation, but because the things they accuse me of I didn't do,
Hmm.
and also I have faith in the system. And there are just
Yeah.
certain things I just believe in. I just believe in uh, the right to due process. I believe in the Constitution, and this cannot be done. If I
Exactly.
stay this fight, if I stay this fight, the longer I stay in the fight, the more likely things will go my way. If it just happens I get exhausted, I quit, I lose. But if I toil through it, the longer I fight it, eventually it will turn. And,
Exactly.
and, and guess what, Ken? It did. I mean,
Hmm.
you couldn't tell me at the onset, hey, well, you know, if you just sit still and just keep with it for 7 years, it'll eventually go your way.
Yeah.
Please don't tell me that. But it eventually did. And to the listeners that aren't familiar with my story, um, what started at a university um, ended up in federal court,
Hmm.
uh, Southern Circuit, ended up a couple of years, 2 years marching the halls of Congress, um, later to end up sitting across from the Secretary of Education, which ultimately influenced the change of Title IX, which
Yep.
became a full scholarship and acceptance to law school, and a USA Today article op-ed, which is, I would say, that vindicating moment that probably made it all like, this is why I did it. To
Exactly.
be here talking to you. This
I
is the you and I right now. This conversation. You know what I'm saying? I knew we were gonna have this. I knew we were gonna have it. So
This is an exceptional moment, and I'm so glad that you
yeah.
enjoyed me with that particular moment. But just to digress for one moment, because all of the most brilliant individuals on social media all respond this way: Joseph, won't you just sue the school? Won't that solve the problem?
Well, you know, gosh, Ken, I'm so glad that we have time, man. We can really go into the details. Why don't you just sue the school? Why don't you just sue the school, right?
Yeah.
I heard that then. Why don't you just sue the school? Well, guess what you need to sue a college? The first thing you need is an attorney.
Yeah.
Savannah State is in Savannah, Georgia. That's the deep South. I'm not sure if you've ever been,
Yes.
but if you're an accused black man at a black college in a small southern town in the deep South, good luck trying to find an attorney to represent you. I tried it. I
Exactly.
tried it. I tried it. And good luck trying to find an attorney to represent you with no money.
Mm-hmm.
I tried it. And
Exactly.
the story that it took to get an attorney, you tell your story, you reach out to these attorneys via phone or email, they meet with you, tell them their story. In the deep South, in a small town like Savannah, we don't even have to talk about the racial undercurrent. The legal
Mm-hmm.
community is very small. You
Yeah.
reach out to one attorney, that as soon as you walk out that attorney's door, he's on the phone with in-house counsel at Savannah State University saying, "Hey, this guy just walked in my office. Is it true?" Meanwhile, you circle back and call the attorney you just met with, and he tells you, even though you have a claim that has merit, I don't think it's worth pursuing. Have you thought about transferring? They'll talk you off.
Yeah.
They'll talk you off. So eventually, I had to decide to take it on myself. I had to represent
Wow.
myself. Yeah, we say wow, but it's wow now hearing it. It's wow now talking about it. But in the middle of needing to do it, to know that if I don't do this, I have no chance.
Mm-hmm.
I don't even have the time to be wild. Where can I find the resource to get this done? First stop I went to was the Chatham County Library. There was a boutique law school in Savannah, Georgia called the Savannah Law School, a
Yeah.
for-profit law school. I'm spending time in the law library trying to figure it out. I mean, if you're suing a college, where do you start if you don't even have an undergraduate degree?
Mm-hmm.
There are law students in the library. The law students took a very keen interest to my case. They were like, "Oh wow, you want to sue the school? Well, I can't give you things you need to do it, but I can maybe tell you."
Yeah.
Once again, we run into small town politic. At the Chatham County Law Library are other attorneys and paralegals that know other attorneys in the city, including the in-house counsel at Savannah State. It's one big cohort,
Mm-hmm.
and eventually, I get told, "I'm sorry, sir, you can't spend time in here because you're not an attorney or paralegal." I get
Yeah.
pushed out of the library. Political pressure.
Mm-hmm.
The only library that I know that has the resource that I need is in Washington, D.C., and that was the Law Library of Congress. So I packed my
Yep.
stuff and I just went up there. I moved to DC. I'm from DC. I got friends and family up there. I just moved into a friend of mine's basement in River Terrace,
Yeah.
and every day it was and every
Yep.
day it was just Metro. I think it was the X2,
Yep.
the X2 to Union Station
Station.
to Capitol South, and that's what it was. No, it was X2 Union Station. If it wasn't raining, I'd walk across the mall. I walk across the Capitol to the Library of Congress, and there it is.
Yep.
And when I drafted my pleadings, I went back down to Georgia and filed. That was the filing day was a big moment. But I don't know if you're familiar with the litigation timeline. The day your initial pleading is just the first step of a marathon, and it took
Mm-hmm.
a marathon to get to this point. But I mean, for someone representing themselves, suing a university, and then when you sue a university, you find out you're not suing those agents that did you wrong. You're not suing the president. You're not suing that ethics coordinator. You're suing the state of Georgia. And the state
Yes.
of Georgia is represented by the Attorney General's office,
Mm-hmm.
who has probably 11 of the strongest attorneys in the public sector of that state. And every time I got to a waypoint, I would just get crushed. I'd be like, oh man, it's steep. It's
Mm-hmm.
vertical. It's a vertical climb.
Exactly.
Keep going.
Now, I want to ask you here real quick because I think people need to have a reasonable understanding of the condition that you are in with a false allegation under old Title IX. And so my query to you is this. Were you also ostracized by those within your race for even contemplating suing a historically black college and university?
Oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah. I mean, you hear it all the time. You're making the school look bad.
Yeah.
Let's see. Black colleges and universities. We kind of just come with the stigma that the quality of our education is the best, and we need to look good because we need to get the most funding. And to make the most funding, we got to look polished. So yeah, definitely shunned by people in the university community. Shunned by members of my family. I mean, the
Mm-hmm.
drama that black families have. My family is not exempt from that.
Yep.
Certain family members wanted it to be true.
Yeah, exactly.
Something like that is just easy to believe. You know what I mean? Shunned by members of my former fraternity because of
Yeah.
the political pressure. Hey, if you guys don't suspend Joseph, we're going to remove the Omega Psi Phi chapter off of the yard. Well,
Yep.
Sorry, Joseph, you got to go.
You got to go.
Um, uh,
That's real.
so
That's very real.
yeah, it's very real. Before this entire process started out, I was just what I like to call a regular guy.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't have any political acumen. I couldn't recognize those invisible boundaries and connections that influence people to make decisions. I'm thinking, hey, I pledge with you guys. I'm a member. You would think that we're loyal to each other, and then you find out, no, it doesn't work like that.
Mm-hmm.
It's usually about the personal interest or the interest of the group. And if it comes at the expense of one member, then yeah, you will get canceled.
Yeah.
You will get canceled. That hurt.
Yeah.
We say
Yeah.
yeah, we say yeah, but that hurt.
Mm-hmm.
It hurt in a way where if you don't if you don't know and you learn that lesson at that time, oh man, you're gonna be crushed. That's depression.
Yeah.
That's your identity. Your family puts you on the out. Um, your peer group, your social circle, your fraternity, they put you on the out. Um, that entire university community. Uh, not only are you putting, not only are they putting you on the out. If people hear your voice, if your platform gets elevated enough, you have the power to make them look very bad.
Yeah.
So to prevent that, they're just going to drive your reputation. Why to the point where they're going to ask people, why are you even listening to him? He's the worst person to ever walk the face of the earth.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah. I'm
I
used to that.
experienced all that.
I'm used to
Yeah.
that.
Hey, so Ken, I get to DC, right?
Yeah.
I filed, went to Georgia, Library of Congress. I go back to Atlanta. I file in federal court, and I fly back up to DC because DC has the resource. It's just the best place to be. I get to walk in the halls of Capitol Hill, lobbying offices, and the first offices that you stop to think of, or if you're a black person with no political acumen, I mean, we're talking. Didn't I couldn't even really technically tell you the difference between Democrat and Republican, other than Republicans are white, and if you're black, you vote Democrat.
Yep.
So if you land on Capitol Hill, the first doors I knock on, you can guess them. Um, Members of the CBC, the CBC caucus, members of the HBCU caucus, those stalwarts that we hear about
Hmm.
growing up, the John Lewis, Alcee Hastings, rest in peace to Elijah Cummings,
Hmm.
uh, Eleanor Holmes.
Yeah.
These people that have made careers in Washington, and I knock on their doors, and you talk to the staffers, hey man, I help you. I'm like, look, the first stop I went was to John Lewis. They always say you talk to your congressman. Hey,
Yeah.
I'm John Lewis. I graduated from high school in Atlanta. That's where I live at. I went to college in Georgia. He's very familiar. Um, and I was falsely accused, and I got kicked out. They took away my due process rights, and I need help. Well, sir, we'll hear your story. They just give you the party line. We'll forward it to the aide. We'll get back with you, and then, in other words, we're just going to put you in the maze and hope that
Hmm.
you get lost.
Yeah.
Well, at that time, my my road to getting here was way too long, and at some point you just come too far to give up.
Yeah.
If I'm knocking on the call, if I'm knocking on the halls of Congress, and I'm getting ignored by all of the offices of the people that I was told to look up to, I'm just going to keep going.
Yes.
And then here's where it turned. I ran into another group of people whose children, whose sons were falsely accused, but they weren't from black colleges. These were parents of guys that were falsely accused by some of the best colleges in the world that are in our country.
Hmm.
Um, Ivy League colleges, not those Ivy League colleges, but schools on the West Coast that are like West Coast Ivy League colleges, at the USCs, the Occidentals. and
Yes.
and and I connected with them, and I became a node on their network. But they weren't knocking on the doors of the Congressional Black Caucus of the HBCU caucus. They were knocking on the doors of the Health, Education, and Labor Committee. they were
There you
knocking on the
go.
doors of they were knocking on the doors of oversight, and the people that they were talking to were saying, "Oh my gosh, there's no way that this could happen to you. This is ridiculous. There's no good reason why you deserve better." And they happen to be conservative Republicans.
Yeah.
It didn't take long. Hey man, I can't say that I was fooled, because I never made a conscious decision to choose, which side I was going to align with politically.
Yes.
Uh, it's kind of like growing up in a house with religion. As children, we don't get to pick which religion we want to. We're just raised into it.
Yeah.
As adults, if we elevate our conscience high enough, we get to choose our religion, if you
Yeah.
so choose to change it. The same thing with your political alignment. I was like, hey, look, everybody's telling me I should go there, and they're pretending like they don't hear me. They're slamming the doors. They're putting me through the maze. They're giving me circular answers. But these guys are like, hold on, let me call somebody. Have you talked to this person? And it's moving. And that's when I was able to see, I was able to see the matrix and connect those dots. And it's like, okay, hey, I like the way you guys work. I definitely can help. What can I do? Well, they taught me, this is how we lobby. These are the meetings that this is how we meet. And on the average day, we do between 10 to 12 meetings. And as long as you're willing to stay up here, um, you have means. If you work with us, you have means to support yourself. I was
Yeah.
like, all right, let's do it. But we say yeah, Kim. But this was late 2015, early 2016, Capitol Hill, about a year and a half before the Me Too movement. So,
Yeah.
walking around, we say yeah, but for that year and a half of walking around Congress, it was inspiring to be able to do it. But every door that I walked into that wasn't receptive, I was the rape guy.
Wow.
I'm walking into a door a year before Me Too saying, hey, I was falsely accused, getting told, oh, false accusations don't happen.
Yes.
Only 3% of cases are false. You laughing. Yeah, yeah. I was. They roughed me up, man. They roughed me up.
Exactly.
Then Me Too. Then Me Too exploded. Then Me Too exploded, and the saving grace. I tell you what, the saving grace. November 18th, 2016. If November 8th, 2016 would have went in a different direction, I can guarantee you, me and you would not be. You and I would not be having this conversation right now.
Wow. What happened on November 18th?
The election of Donald J. Trump.
There you go.
The election of Donald J. Trump, followed by the subsequent appointment of Secretary of Education Betsy DeVos.
There you go.
That's the
So,
math.
so you get a chance to eventually sit down and talk with Betsy DeVos. What was that conversation like?
Well, a lo- we're talking about a 1.5, 2 year journey on Capitol Hill, Congress. You
Hmm.
just don't get to meet with the. You just don't get to meet with a sitting cabinet member.
Yeah.
But when we set forth on this journey, we were getting all the doors slammed, but then it was beginning to soften up. So you kind of know that, I'm not just working alone. I'm working with a team, and that
Hmm.
those members of that team, they have influence. So in our meetings, they're saying, we're updating each other on the progression
Hmm.
of this movement that eventually will end with a meeting with the Secretary of Education. There's been a turnover of new administration. We're in contact with the deputy. Uh, the deputy is in contact with the secretary. The secretary is going to want to meet. We're going to have a delegation at that meeting. Uh, when we're talking about delegate, when the organization is talking about a delegation with a sitting member, that you're just a passenger in this vehicle. I didn't think I would get it. I didn't think I would get to sit.
Hmm.
I didn't think I would get to sit. I'm just happy to help get this ball moving. And okay, when the email goes out, these are the people that will be meeting. There were three of us. My name was at the top. So it's like, okay, it's time to prepare. It's
Yeah.
time to prepare. This is not a this is not a random run into with Secretary DeVos where it's like, oh my gosh, I only have 30 seconds to tell you how I feel. No, this is a part where I really get to tell you what's been going on. And I've been telling everybody that I met for the past 2 years in Congress what's been going on. So it was just a measure of, by the time I got to the meeting with the secretary, what I wanted to tell her, I practice it 4 times a week, 4 days a week, probably anywhere from 40 to 50 times, 40 to 50 meetings per week for a year and a half. So when I got to the sit down with Secretary DeVos, how did it go? What was it like? It was seamless.
Wow.
It was seamless. Yeah, it was mathematics.
It was like, hey, you already have spoken to nearly everyone on Capitol Hill. The story is true in the sense that you are innocent. So it couldn't help but be an expression of triumph and success. What did the Trump administration do that made your life a whole lot better regarding this situation?
My personal life,
Yes.
man, it's an intangible. The Trump administration restored my faith in the system.
Wow.
Ken, it ain't no secret, man. I'm black.
Yeah.
I'm black. Look at me. I'm black. I voted. I voted for Obama twice,
Mm-hmm.
and when it came time for my time of need, and I appealed to him and his supporters and the people he appointed, and they shut the door on me, that hurt. That
Yeah.
hurt. The Trump administration opened it up. As long as you're telling the truth, as long as you're honest, you do not deserve to be treated for this, like this. There's not a good reason why you were treated like this. This is how you should be treated, and this is how people are going to be treated moving forward.
Mm-hmm.
As long as you're giving us your humble and honest effort and everything you say is true, we're going to work for you. Uh, President Trump and his administration, he's a results driven president.
Yes.
What did he do for me? What does the administration do for me by appointing a secretary that opened things up for me?
Yeah.
He restored my access to education. We're talking, I was able to graduate from Savannah State. I was able to go to law school. I was able to get an education. Once I graduate from law school, I will enter that middle class. What did they
Yeah,
do for me? The
exactly.
intangible.
Now, there are people listening tonight saying, as a black man, I can't possibly believe that you would support Donald Trump. And is your support of Donald Trump built on the framework of the results that he's done, or is it built on the framework that he did you a favor?
No, it's built on the framework of I'm my own man and I can make my own conscious decisions.
Yeah.
And from my experience, the reason why I'm here, the reason why I'm here interviewing with you tonight, I can take a sheet of paper, write a line down the middle. Donald Trump in the middle of the top, the positives and negatives, and the positives outweigh the negatives.
Mm.
When it first started, you know, my support of Donald Trump, I was just a single issue voter.
Yeah.
My issue in the experience that I went to, and because he was there, he's a great voter. But when you look at, his achievements and accomplishments, when you ask me, yeah, I do get the heat, I do get the pressure for being black and being a Trump supporter. But I
Yeah.
mean, when you look at his achievements, the the limitless HBCU funding, the equal access to education, the things that he's done for the criminal justice reform, uh, for Black Americans. I mean, no, it's hands down the most that's ever been done. I mean, we're just so fortunate to have a president that can get in there and cause so much change for
Now,
Black people. I mean, even down to the SBA loans, the PPP. I mean, it's alarming the fact that he doesn't get the praise that he deserves. But I mean,
exactly.
you and I, we're conscious people that make our own decisions and we're not easily influenced. So,
You
Black Trump support is very interesting.
you are an innocent man, and you always have
Okay.
been an innocent man. When Who was it in your family that you most wanted to convey your innocence to, or what person in your life did you
Uh,
wanted to convey that innocence to?
my my 93-year-old grandmother that's from Mississippi that at the
Yes.
time was 86, who booked a flight from Los Angeles, California to Savannah, Georgia, that never got to see her grandson graduate from college to this day. I just was in LA. I visited her for the 4th of July. The same grandmother that when I was in her living room, all of us in the family have to sit and talk to our grandmother with masks on.
Yeah.
The same grandmother that when we're in this living room with each other, the writing on the wall is that grandma's not going to be here for 20 more years.
Yeah.
So she's the same grandmother that I'm striving making it through law school to, so I can give her that experience. I was told very early on, don't worry about, my biggest supporters, my most ardent supporters, don't worry about Savannah State. Don't worry about that ceremony of graduation. It's going to be worth it more when you graduate from law school. That's what it's about. That's the family.
You have been vindicated, and I believe that the Lord's vindication is far greater than any man's vindication. But
Oh, yeah.
tonight,
Oh, yeah.
for the man who is sitting at home tonight and he's been falsely accused of this, what can you say about the changes to Title IX that give him an opportunity to defend his reputation and vindicate himself?
Can I tell him, put my number up? Put my number. Come on, producer. Where you at in the background? Let's talk. Let's
There you
talk.
go.
Because if you're falsely accused and if you're listening to this, I just want to let you know a lot of things have changed. Okay, uh, through the efforts and the advocacy of changing Title IX, the new administration, there are a couple of provisions in the new final rule that include basic obligations. Basic obligations that I'm probably sure you missed, that people probably couldn't believe that weren't there but aren't there now. Like, according to the final rule, a college must actually investigate allegations of sexual harassment.
Mhm.
Let's see. Another thing is that the final rule says that the school must investigate things in a timely manner. If you are listening out there, just know that if you were expelled or suspended and before you were found guilty, that was wrong. Universities can no longer do that. Um, if you had an investigation that was undermined by a staff or faculty member with a conflict of interest, that is no longer allowed. Your right to privacy, if your reputation was ruined because of this, it must be protected. And if you are a victim, you know, sexual assault is a terrible thing, but if you are a victim of sexual assault, you have the right to make accommodations to avoid contact with the person that you accuse. For example, modification of class schedules, housing reassignments, um,
Mhm.
even if you haven't pressed criminal charges. And the most important thing is that both parties are allowed to appeal the decision. So, if you're at home, if you're falsely accused, those are the things of Title IX, the final rule, that have been taken into place. Now, the emotional things that you're going through,
Yeah.
you're probably feeling isolated, you're probably feeling guilty. You're probably feeling all these other different things that I went through a series of myself. That's the hard part. Um, there is a network of people that are willing to help. You can always reach out to me. There's an organization called Save Services, and there's also an organization called FACE. If you need that resource, or if you need access to that resource, there are web links, there are URLs. FaceCampusEquality.org, and I think the other SafeServices.org, or you can just always reach out to me. I got the socials. Ken will get you the socials. I'll get you my
Yep.
contact information, and we'll go from there. Even if you're an advocate, then still reach out. So this is um, when they talk about that pendulum that swings, well,
Yes.
it's swinging. It stopped and it's swinging back. And this isn't a movement that's vilified of loud and screaming people wanting to ruin people's lives. This is a movement of people that just want to restore justice and due process for all. So,
Joseph,
even killed. Uh,
Joseph, you hit on a very key point here for advocates, because just as those who are victims feel isolated alone, often advocates are operating out of that island premise. What would you say to them in terms of stopping that and networking together?
well, it's find a center node, because advocating for a polarizing or nuclear issue, it does come with consequence. Um,
Mhm.
you may support me today, but 3 years ago, you'll be considered a rape apologist.
Yes.
No question about it. So, if you find yourself wanting to advocate and worried about getting in that political crossfire, um, reach out to a center node, support the center node that's fighting for your cause. I mean,
Hmm.
it happens all the time. They're called funding sources. You can become a funding source. That's one way to support the center node, but you can also just maybe give them access to your resource,
Hmm.
extend your network. If you have attorneys in your network that are willing to support or be a co-counsel on a big
Yes.
case, those are the different ways you can do that while remaining in the shadows. You don't have to feel guilty about it. We're not asking that, hey, if you support us, uh, post these things on social media. Make yourself vulnerable to show your allegiance. We're all well aware of the of the cancel culture and the
Yep.
cancel mob. If they come your way, they're going to swarm like hornets.
Yes.
So you don't have to feel vulnerable. And my recommendation, of course, is what your instinct tells you: is you don't expose yourself to it. Find someone else, or find someone that's willing to do it. For example,
Hmm.
when I landed on Capitol Hill, a lot of the families and a lot of the organizations that I worked for, they were afraid. Ken, they were afraid for something that, at that point in my life, I never knew was a fear. They were afraid that if they were advocating for their falsely accused son on Capitol Hill, it would destroy the reputation of their family.
Yeah.
I'm on Capitol Hill trying to restore mine. so, so, it was like the perfect marriage. I'm like, okay, look, well, I mean, we're talking about families that will have things that you and I will never own.
Exactly.
I mean,
Exactly.
yes, it's just so I'm like, hey, look, I went through an identity crisis where I was like, maybe I deserve to be treated like this, and maybe nobody cared because I'm not worth caring about. Uh,
Wow.
but it wasn't until I met those families I was like, wait a second. If anybody didn't deserve to get treated like this, it was definitely you and
Definitely.
your son. Oh my gosh, there's no way. So if for me being that center node of support, it's just like, hey Joseph, can you go to these meetings? Can
Yes.
you represent us? And look, ma'am, sir, that's real easy to do. I'll be right back, and I'll do what needs to be done as long as you tell me the next steps and what I need to do next.
Hmm. And now
And
let me ask you two sincere questions coming from the women's point of view in this. Uh,
mhm.
Number one, is this a way of doing a paternal um, vengeance against women? Is it men trying to find a way to absolve themselves of what they've done to womanhood?
Well, that's a polarizing narrative. So, the immediate
Yes.
answer is no. What this is that the three prongs to this side of this issue. One are people that are guilty of sexual assault. The others in the middle, which where I'm at, that's the falsely accused, and then on the final side are the victims of.
Hmm.
Where we're at, what we represent vindication and due process and justice for those that were falsely accused. This isn't the return of the patriarchy.
Hmm.
This isn't the patriarchy strikes back. What this was for those people that I know who usually have that argument is that, hey, we are the women's rights movement. We're screaming loud and proud, and we're going to destroy the lives of men. That
Yes.
happened. The universe naturally restores balance. That was an overreach. So our side of the issue, we're just moving it to the center. Now, if your voice was screaming loud and proud and ruining lives and pillaging and plunder and leaving bodies in its wake, and if someone comes in and just says, "Hey, you can't do that anymore," that creates a power deficit, and in that vacuum, it's, oh my gosh, we're not as powerful as we were before. This is men trying to take away our rights. No, this is just a group of people trying to restore justice. Some of our biggest advocates and allies, there are falsely accused women too. There are several female attorneys, and female professors, and female experts. This is not a gender war.
Hmm.
This is something that happened that was unfair, and as a consequence, this is just the correction.
Here's the second final question in terms of the womanhood question here. In your personal life, did you
Yeah,
seek
yeah.
vengeance against those who accused you falsely?
No, no way, never. I forgave them. I
Wow.
forgave them. Um, when it first happened, it took me like 4 or 5 months to even find out who they were. I didn't know who they were. So when I found out, it was there was anger there. There was
Yeah.
anger there, but surprisingly, the anger really wasn't even directed towards them. The anger was definitely directed towards the people in charge of the university that could have prevented it. For their sake, they were manipulated into making that decision. They were told this is what you should do to kick him out. Whoever green lighted that was like, okay, let's get rid of him. There was anger at the system, and that anger led to a very deep depression.
Yeah.
And it's like we're talking about a 7-year process. How long am I going to be angry and depressed, and how long am I going to let the outcome of this suffocate me and choke me? I mean, that's not something you can pull yourself out of without help, man. That's
Yeah.
hey, you talk to the right people, prayer, you know, forgiveness,
Hmm.
self-abrogation, self-sacrifice. These are the things that empower you in life. And hey, you know what happened? What happened? Once I got to DC and I went through the process, I realized, look, I got surrounded by a network of people, and I wasn't the only one. This wasn't my fault. This wasn't their fault. This was a failure of the system.
Yeah. You know,
So
in
forgive them.
my personal opinion, it would be great if they just sent you a letter of apology, whoever the accusers are. Just I was bad, I was wrong, I'm sorry. Um, would that be a vindication for you? Would that be acceptable for you?
Uh, you know, life goes on.
Yeah.
If they want to send me a letter of apology for falsely accusing me and destroying my life, which is everything they intended to do, I'll take it. I'll take it. But you might,
You know,
you know,
for someone, from someone whose life is destroyed, you're about to graduate from law school on a full scholarship. You're about to hand that degree to your 93-year-old grandmother. You're about to get into the world of politics and law as well. You should be. You are impeccable in your character. And if you would, just succinctly, tell us what's happening in San Francisco. Are you still a candidate? The
Oh yeah,
result of
yeah.
your campaign.
Oh man, so San Francisco is an interesting beast, man. I'm not sure if you guys hear about the headlines out there, but everything you hear about San
Yeah.
Francisco is true. From the homelessness, from the drug use. I mean, it's people out here. You'd be surprised because we don't have a lot of violent crime, but I mean, we have open air drug use. It's worse than South Central DC, Black America in
Yes.
the '90s. It's it's crazy, but all things pandemic, a lot of the city is gone, and only a fraction of the city is here. But we still have poor leadership. Mayor's under investigation, federal under investigation for embezzlement. The cronyism is there. I mean, it's just it's crazy.
Yeah.
On the ground, I've been nominated to the Central Committee. I've assumed a leadership role. I am the vice chair of political affairs. So it you can expect to be hearing me make a lot of noise. It's time to get to work. Do I feel like right now the Republican Party in San Francisco we have enough to flip City Hall and make it conservative? Absolutely not. But I tell you what, at the bare minimum, we got a watchdog in me, and we're gonna make things very complicated. So that's our agenda. Please share and retweet that to whoever you want. That ain't no secret.
There
You
you
know what I'm
go.
saying? I'm
Joseph, we need to find a way to make you a contributor to our program. I love having you on the program.
oh
If I
yeah,
had a son, I would want him to grow up to be just like you, a warrior
yeah.
and a man of impeccable character. How can people get in contact with you? How can people read the USA Today article that came out earlier this week, or I believe it on Tuesday? How can people get all that stuff from you?
Let's see. What should I do? Let's go to my website.
Mm-hmm.
josephroberts-sf.org. There has my contact information. The USA Today article can be found with a simple USA Today Google search, web-based Google search. Joseph
Yep.
Roberts, USA Today. It'll appear at the top of the search. You shared it yourself, and
Yep.
if you know anybody that can ID with this story or empathize with this story, with my story, or just anybody needs to hear it. I mean, by all means, share on the socials. Um, you know, if you follow me on your social media channels, I'd be honored to return the favor. Tell me who the right people are to follow. I mean, I'm very, I'm very neutral in this, and I want to see it grow. Not only on this single issue, but
Yeah.
just also on just good people deserve to surround themselves with good people. So I want to be a part of your network. I love to contribute to your show, Ken. I tell you what, if I'm in DC, um, same rules apply, man. If I don't see you before election night, we'll be under the confetti.
There you
We'll
go.
be under the confetti together when the balloons drop.
There you go.
I'm a native Washingtonian, born in Columbia Hospital for Women, which is now a condo. I always keep a close eye on the district. We had a tough weekend back home this weekend. I just want to
Yeah.
send my heartfelt and condolences to the McNeil family, everyone on Cedar Street. Look, the Frederick Douglass apartment, man, we know what time it is over there. So God continue to bless Trayvon Martin, and hopefully he can do something to change it. I mean, not Trayvon Martin, but
Yeah.
gosh, Ward, what's his name?
Trey on
What's his
White.
name?
Yeah.
Trayon White. I mean, that brother's working so hard.
Yeah.
That brother's working so hard. So even though we don't align ourselves politically, our political ideals are different, man. That's just as far as just good person, very hard working brother, man. And his entire time serving the city, he's had to deal with just deaths and murders, and I can just only imagine how it weighs on him. So
Yeah.
uh, keep him in your prayers. And he decided to give it another run and win.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
he's definitely a change agent. So I love DC, Ken. I love you, man.
I love you too, man.
All
And I am so honored to have you on this program. I swear, if I had a son, he would be you.
right, hey, man. Okay, all right. Call me. You can be my dad. I'll call you dad. You know what I'm
Hey,
saying?
as long as I don't have to pay child support, I'm okay.
Look, man. You got a son that's about to be an attorney, so I'm your get out of jail free card. All
That's right. Absolutely. Joseph, I am so proud of you. I love you, man. God bless you. We'll be getting in contact with one another very soon.
Yeah, awesome. Sure thing, Kim, man. Anything you need, I'm here in San Francisco. Just give me a call.
Definitely. And would you please tell the people, don't practice excrementing while they're doing live shots from San
Yeah,
Francisco?
yeah. Look, guys, look. Please don't do it in the street. I go outside. Just don't, don't urinate in front of my yard. Hey,
Yeah,
look, if you need some food, you can contact me. You don't have to go inside the trash
you
can on
don't
my
have
corner
to.
because you don't put the trash back in the trash can, and then I have trash on my street. Um, like uh, if you need a resource, please ask. Like there was a guy walking around the city barefoot. And
Hmm.
I was like, "You need some shoes?" He's like, "Yeah." I came back up here in my apartment. I got him some shoes. Went back out there and gave them to him. Um, hey, look, San Francisco is one of the most wealthiest cities in the world, and a lot of us are here with an overwhelming excess amount of resources. So just, guys, just ask to stay out the trash can. Keep the poop out the street, and we'll
Please.
look.
Because we all got to wear shoes and we don't want brown stuff beneath it. Joseph, we love you, man. God bless you. We look forward to you coming back on the program.
Always,
Joseph
Ken. Take care, man.
Roberts. God bless and take care. Joseph Roberts, ladies and gentlemen, I am telling you, if he was a son, if he was my son, I would be so very proud of him. I'm proud of him as if he were my son. Joseph C. Roberts, running out there in San Francisco. You're going to see some changes in San Francisco with this brother at the helm. I tell you that right now. Listen, ladies and gentlemen, we are at a point on Open Heart Closed Case Night in loving memory of my daughter Shanice Milton, who was killed on the 27th of May, 2015, in Washington, D.C. The case is unsolved to date. To bring you the best in urban conservative news and talk, I'm Ken McClinton. I'm the president of TECN TV and as well the host of this particular evening's The Exceptional Conservative Show, live from the nation's capital. We are a republic, ladies and gentlemen, not a democracy. And in addition to that, ladies and gentlemen, we are the best in urban conservative news, talk, and movies. Without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, we will be back with more of the best in urban conservative talk right after these messages.